do that. So,
Hey,
Hi, Alan.
how you doing? How
Good,
did you
okay.
connect? How did you connect to the internet?
My phone hotspot.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because apparently we don't have internet there. Just so you know, all the cameras are down.
Are down?
Yeah, there's no internet in the. I mean, you guys return all the boxes and everything, so there's no internet.
Okay. You have limited time, right, Alan?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started right away. We have the full board here. So we have a quorum. And we have Jay here. It is 6:00. Well, I started recording at 6:01. I was a minute late. I apologize. Sorry, Brian.
for shame.
If that's a legal deposition, according to your lawyer rights, you're on me. So while Alan is here temporarily, I want to get straight into why Jay is here, and that is the RFP. And we as a board need to make a couple decisions to go through that. So one, we have, I guess you could say, written approval from Duralast that the equipment is good. If you call good to go a technical term for.
What I would want in writing is for them to say unequivocally, we will warranty your thing regardless, because you had, that's what I would want. Good to go is not gonna get it. That would be my, I would want them to unequivocally say, we will warranty this equipment.
By writing, right?
Yeah.
If you read on the communication, and that's one of the things that I spoke with Robert previously, is that I'm not convinced what the letter says at the end, because it's actually, I say, all the materials are in good condition, but it will depend on the contractor's, approach. If somebody comes later on and say, well, I cannot work with this, or at the moment of installation say, no, the phone is failing, so there's no guarantee. So that letter for me wasn't really crystal clear. So that's why I have my doubt that this is 99%, like workable. So that is what I think that we should do in order to have our complete protection. Completely agree. I would say without delaying the RFP process.
Yeah. So here's my opinion, right? Based on what I learned last week, and again, this will have another decision that weighs into it. If what I was told last week is true, that the overall project won't be any more than 600 to $1 million, let's say, whatever, that saves us $1 million overall, maybe $1.5 million based on the original contract that we were under with the Mansards and all of the other stuff that we were doing.
A little less, but point is taken that it would be cheaper.
It would be significantly cheaper by roughly half.
Because we've already put in 700,000, give or take.
Okay.
So if it goes into 100,000, we will still be saving like million. If it goes above 100, it starts to discount on the 1 million, but I would say it's still.
Right. So, and again, that's my thing. So let's assume that there's $50,000-$60,000 worth of material out here that we don't know for sure whether or not it's viable. And that won't be until a contractor, and my contractor who was out here looked at it and he goes, man, that shit's yellow. He goes, it's supposed to be white. Because I can't unroll any of those things and check to see if any of those rolls are any good. They may all be stuck together. This is just him guessing by looking at it. So the point that I'm trying to make is, if we know that we've already spent 50, 60, 100, whatever it is, but we're going to save $1 million. If I told you tomorrow that I could save you 900,000, you'd be pretty excited about it. right?
But lose the investment there, but save the 900,000. So our decision,
That's
Is-
kind of my point, like,
the point to the question leading to that.
Your first question, we have received an email from Jack. The first question says, knowing that the roofing contractors were going to decide on that, then says, and knowing there is likely to be hugely significant drop in the overall project cost, would you be willing to change the material in the scope of work? My answer, and I'm not talking about the water, I'm just talking about myself, is would be yes. But I would give the possibility to any leader to work with these, work with these and present their conditions, or even present two proposals. Like if they want to work with these, the price is this one. If they don't want to work with these, the price is. I would give the possibility to the bidder. By the way, the answers would be the same on building 2 and 3. There are two types of materials to be used that they. I would use both options, and some of the leaders would say we would never use this. Materials. Some of them would say, I would use these, but the price is X. I would not use these. And the price is
So let me clarify that. Use this only on buildings 2 and 3? And 1, 4 in Clubhouse, something else, or still leave it completely open?
The more we give it to the roof, the more roof prices and quality relationship we're gonna get. I don't see why.
yes and no.
Okay, so,
And
yes.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. You're also talking about the guy who probably swamped with a stack of things to quote at the time.
Okay.
So knowing that each one of the estimators at each one of these companies is gonna look at this, would they be willing to price it both ways? Maybe. Yeah, you know, I mean, maybe.
That's a good point.
And I'm not saying that they wouldn't.
Yeah, but it's a good point because I know whenever time we ask for a bid, the process of bidding is always, very complicated. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions and there's an RFI period and, you know, we got some questions. Okay, we'll give you a week to ask the questions that you need to ask. And we can put it in as an option A or B. We have $50,000 worth of material. I don't know what the number is out here, but let's.
100,000, just to be
Okay,
rounding.
all right. So we've got $100,000 worth of material savings for you out here if you choose to use this. However, it may not be good, right? It might, and we'll take your bid for that. And can you give us another bid for the new TPO system that's,
I would not force him to give us two bids. I would say we have these, you can use it or not on your proposal,
Mhm.
or you can even give us two proposals.
Yeah.
But if you want to just give us one proposal without this or with this, it's on your side.
Okay.
So
But-
that means that if they are completely under a lot of documentation, etc., which many times they are.
so I'll put an either or spec in there.
I'm just saying
I mean, I can.
But the roof has to be durabilized, certified even solid.
That's
so
true.
It's gonna limit some of the.
Right.
yes. And so for the ones that are not certified, they would have two options, or they get certified, or they do a proposal without using these, knowing that they would have to buy the materials for building 2 and 3 on top of what the Duralast will.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the
It's just, that's why it's probably gonna be able to utilize this.
Yeah,
Most likely.
yes.
My
Maybe.
only concern, Gabe, is what would be the next system that we're gonna work in the roof? We need to actually get that clear because this is a very particular roofing system
Mhm.
that actually has some clear specification that are more into components. So
Right.
when we're talking about, okay, we're gonna use a TPO, which one would be on all these
Yeah.
selected TPO, which is the most appropriate, that is similar, or we're gonna do something completely different? Because as I understand, the choice of this system was erroneous, because this is most likely for commercial, and
Right.
it's a very definitely application
Right.
to the point that you have to actually use pads in order for you to walk, and there's a lot of things that needs to be taken in consideration when you're using this system.
Yeah.
So my point is it gonna be easy for the contractors to do two
Right.
different bids on two different roofing systems. And the other part is the decking. So when we are doing the renovation of the mansard, there's a lot of unknown conditions. Are we gonna
Correct.
be able?
Well, that's the second question. That's the
Okay,
second,
okay,
answer
so
to the
I'm just
second
moving
question.
forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's-
Yeah.
I agree with you. First of all, we are not forcing anybody to do two proposals. From my understanding, we will give them a possibility of doing one on dual last, one without dual last, or doing two.
So,
And the other thing is, I believe we need on the side of the RFP, that anybody that comes to do needs clear specification, and that if it changes the system that we're gonna use, tell us about the timing and the costs to change the permits and the licenses, etc. So they go through the process in that triangle of time, price, and quality.
Because the question, extend to the point that I say, okay, we have Duralast for two buildings. Are we gonna be able to afford Duralast with the other buildings? Because if we're gonna be, like, even with the total, are we gonna afford that? I don't think
So
so.
we have to use Duralast from the other two
No.
buildings that we use on 2 and 3.
Well, because, this is a specific system and, like, we are going to actually do we're gonna do two different systems.
We would just need to change the permit.
First, on Duralast.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
let me skip ahead to my third question. So based on what it is, we've got a decent discussion going on about which product to use, which system to use. Would it make sense for me to either find out if NV5, if we internally have a roofing engineer that would come out and could write out a complete and total spec, or I know a guy that owns a company called ACRC that's all they do is roof engineering, and it would be a third party overall spec generation, and they would give us their opinion on the mansards that haven't been touched. So again, it's a question. I'm not pushing it. If we want to continue what we're doing, we can do that. That's easy.
And I would separate the question on the need for the mansards. The only requirement we need is that the person that will do that assessment needs to be 100% independent from any type of invoicing coming in the future.
Right.
So so we need to establish any type of model that the person that comes to see the states of the mansards doesn't have any skin in the game if he says, no, replace everything, because at the end of the day, he will benefit from that. That is
Sure.
something we need to ensure 100%.
Agreed.
What we can benefit from this report, because actually we have our engineer report already done for the mansards. And I think that the condition it's there, it's unknown, and only the contractor at the moments of the opening is when they're going to detect how much is the quantity and what will be the procedures before they do the repair or whatever. So we have that report. So is it necessary to bring a third party to do that site inspection?
I would say yes, because the contractor is a person that has skin in the game in terms of saying that I saw a bug with the mansard, so let's replace it. So if he's not completely honest, and sometimes we are not going to find the completely honest on the other side, so we will say, hey, I've tried something, it's better to replace. Because he has skin in the game, the more work he does, the more it's going to replace.
That I don't disagree with.
Okay.
But I said mansard and I opened up a can of worms that we need to talk about next. Let's go back to TPO versus Duralast. And at least, but I need to, in order for me to put the wording together, I need to know what spec we're going to use. And if we want to use both specs and do it either or, I can do that because I have the spec for Duralast and I have a TPO spec as well. That was generated by the ACRC company that I was telling you about.
I would say either or.
And nobody's forced to bet on the two horses. They can bet on the Duralast, they can bet on, you can give them the option to bet on each one of them, or even bet on both. But I want to get in both parts, let's say, for my, if I do this work on Bylaws, is this, and if I do it without Bylaws, is there. They might do it, and I would even open the option, and I know it starts to be complicated, but if I want to use these for 2 and 3, and then change for, you mentioned TPO for 1 for in Clubhouse, and I wanted to do the meeting like this because it's going to be the most economic, efficient for your client, why not? The only thing we need to guarantee, like Alfred was talking about, is clear specifications when we change from buildings 2 and 3 to 1 for in Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And it needs to guarantee us that they're not going to be stuck 1 year waiting for permits, which I believe we are not, because.
I wouldn't think so,
Yes.
but it would be something that we would have to start doing immediately.
The permits.
Yeah, we would at least have to start talking to the city and go, okay, look, this is what we're planning on doing.
Yep.
At least start the conversation and find out from them specifically what they want, what the city of North Miami wants from us.
One of the things that I learned today, I forgot if that was Alan or someone else, but that the roof needs to be pitched.
And it'll be pitched from front.
Like at an angle, so
Yeah,
the water.
But the TPO also can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
The master spec on the city only calls for Durolast. So for other roofing system, we need to actually add it to the existing master permit.
Yeah.
And that's what I
But that-
understood from the city. And with a contractor can be replaced, no problem.
Okay.
So I think that what we need to do is adding the new master specs for the new system roofing, but we're gonna
And we
decide.
should do it, we should do it ourselves, or we wait for the contractor whenever it comes to do this master specs revision. So imagine that I'm betting on TPO. I would do that master specs revision whenever I start working, or should we start working as soon as possible on the?
Whatever proposal is agreed, is approved by that specific system, that is the one that is dominating.
And I think that if we send this out to 4, 5, 6 different contractors, that we'll start to get an idea pretty fast of whether people want to do the Duralast or they want to do a TPO or they don't like Duralast. Because my guys were like, Duralast, we call it Duratrash. You know, I mean, that was their take on it. They're also not certified in doing it, so it might just be them. But I think we'll find out over the, we only do TPO, or we'll do both, or however. And then if we start to they start telling us, hey, we've got 4 of the 6 that are gonna do bid TPO only, then we'll know pretty quick that we probably need to start the process with the permit to go, okay, here's the system.
But that savings would be potentially dramatic compared to where we were before.
I guess,
With if not choose Duralast, with a similar warranty.
During the process, we have to be very careful on the sharing of information of the contractors that are bidding. I think we should be very careful. Okay, we are going to open all the bids in the same day, same by letter, etc. So nobody has like inside information to be. We need to define that on the RFP, that we guarantee equal conditions.
This is in the procurement, this is invitation to bid, and that's a process. So
So
you
you
already know that.
by email, like, that we guarantee exactly that all the.
And all the proposal have to be open at the same day.
So even if they start sharing about the TPOs or whatever, the part, we need to be very careful with pricing or sharing and stuff, not giving advantage to anybody.
Okay, so the first question's answer is we are comfortable going with a different material, but we're not making that selection. We're doing an either or option, and they can choose to bid on this stuff or not. They can choose to do 2 and 3 with this and then switch to a different component or whatever you call it. Or they can do just something completely different.
okay. No, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
these are
perfect.
our names.
Yeah.
Leeward.
Yeah.
Alan, you comfortable with that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Those options either or, it's what I would go for.
Okay, good. Question number 2. as far as mansards are concerned, so this is mansards on 1-4 in Clubhouse. We should proceed.
This was my opinion when I wrote this, that I think we should proceed with leaks and damage only on buildings 1, 4, and 12. With the mansards. Based on the conversation that I had with the roofing company, that were like, look, if you're not being told by the city, or if there's no leaks, or there's not some kind of an insurance claim, there's no need to pull these things off. It does two things. One, you have to have a general contractor to do any kind, you're supposed to have a general contractor to do any kind of construction on the mansards, because it's actually technically part of the facade. That's why we worded the email the way we did the other day. A GC license is needed to do any of the construction work on the mansards. And you also have to have a roofing license to do the shingles and all of the decking on it. So, and again, it was his opinion that, like, why would you open up Pandora's box by messing with those things if they're not in danger? Now, if it's something that you want to do as we progress with the project, and maybe it's something that we schedule for 6 months down the road or whatever, to do a re-shingling and a redecking of it, or a re-shingling of all of the mansards. And then we come back and then they can give us a per square foot price of decking underneath, or if there's some structural stuff that they need to do, they can give us a unit price hourly on how they would do that. And then it would be up to me or a third-party engineer to look at it and go, yep, that wood's bad, it needs to be changed. Yep, that stuff's bad, it needs to be fixed. But to do a wholesale tear off of all the mansards on this building it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone from the board would want a wholesale replacement of the mansards if it's not necessary on 1-4 in Clubhouse.
Right.
So the question then is, where do we draw the line? Here's the options from how I see it. Don't touch them at all. Only do roofs on 1-4 in Clubhouse. Second option. Change the shingles so the community has the same shingles everywhere. That's the second option. Third option, I think what you started with, an engineer come in and investigate the trusses to determine to what extent they need to be repaired and all that. My preference is probably 1 or 2. If it's not broke, don't fix it. That's really essentially the first option. Leave it alone for now, finish the roofs, go on. The second one, changing the shingles. If we change the shingles, because the shingles have gone beyond their life expectancy, then we keep as aesthetic the same. But then that potentially then that opens Pandora's box, that if we remove the shingles, oh, this black sheet needs to be replaced. Oh, now that truss needs to be replaced. And once you break that seal of the shingles.
And that's the risk you run with every roof, right? So anytime that you go to re-shingle, even, and it's probably the same down here, but I worked for a roofing company, a residential roofing company up north. And that was the deal. We kind of got up and you could feel the soft spots and the wood and all that stuff by walking on it. So we could guess that, all right, we're going to need 10 sheets of plywood to change out here. But as soon as you pull the shingles off the roof, you know what's underneath it, right? So, again, I personally am of the thought process of if it's not leaking and nobody's telling you to do it, don't touch it. Because at this point, you're, like you said, you're 700,000 in the game, and it's bad, right? So we don't want to continue. I mean, maybe we could do it down the road. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And that was based on, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a roofing expert, but based on my conversation with the roofing guys that I've talked to, said if you don't have to touch it and nobody's telling you to touch it, just leave it alone. And if there's a shingle that's out of place that you need to change that shingle. You know, if there's a repair that needs to be, you know, looked at, do that. But it just didn't make any sense, especially when I looked at the back of building 3 in the northwest corner of the building. They had already torn off a big chunk of that corner back there. And there was no reason to do that. Potentially, there was potentially no reason to do that. And my guess is they probably didn't get authorization from an engineer or somebody from the community to do it. So the last thing that we want, or I would want, would be, again, a contractor like you said, or whoever was saying earlier, that's just up there making decisions for themselves. I don't want them up there going, yeah, we'll just tear this whole side of the building off and then we'll fix it. Well, why?
So we have 3 options. Don't touch. First one, change the shingles. Second one, engineer or investigate, or however we define that, go in with the camera, look at the trusses, however you would do that. In one foreign clubhouse.
And I think they might be able to do some of that from underneath through the soffit so that it doesn't actually, like they can.
We actually did that exploration, and there's pictures and there's a report, and I wanted to say something because I related to history, because when we started to thinking about this roofing system, the reason that we need to actually work with the mansard is because the wrapping material, the waterproofing wraps around the mansard. And for us, it's critical because we started working backwards. And then when we actually laid on the problem, we detect that the shingles are not usable, so need to be replaced because they are more than 25 years span. And regardless of you don't see any leakage, which the report of the engineer tells you clearly, there's fungi, there is a lot of water penetration, and that is the part that needed to be, like follow. So the shingles definitely in all of the building are completely expired, are completely overdue. And the problem with this system was that before, in order to not void the warranty, we needed to make sure that the whole decking was resistant for the Duralast give us the warranty. Otherwise, it will lose it. So that was the first challenge that we actually did. So that's why we go backward. We look at the mansard, we make the report with a certified engineer, and the engineer said, there is a problem with the mansard. You need to actually look at the decking because there's a lot of issues there that are not going to support the warranty of the material. So that is something that needs to be taken care of and needs to be, so.
I have 2 questions. First, if we start taking out the channels, probably this question makes no sense anymore after even 12 years. Would that damage the interior part? No,
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. So they take it like,
And that the thing is that there are unknown situations there, and there is a percentage based on the city of replacement. If you actually pass the threshold, I believe it's 20 to 25 of decking, then you have to do it.
Okay.
For replacement of the decking, not
the structure.
But the problem is that the way that these framing, the trousers were designed back then, 1990, that decking didn't, it's not up to the code. And that's the issue that we're facing, because once you open that, the city inspector are going to say, okay, so this is not up to code and we need to actually do something. That's why the decision, the previous decision was, okay, well, let's do completely and fully replacement because we don't want to deal with that. But a contractor can tell you more or less if this applies or not.
But we never did see whether it reached that 20% threshold.
Never, yeah. So that's the thing.
and I don't point. So just question, Chief. is there any way to have an assessment? We're not really talking about the answers that the most expensive is the thing that they don't want, correct? It's not about shingles, is that structure?
Yeah, it's just I have to rebuild the whole
Yes,
structure.
so my question would be, is there any way that before, to have an assessment on that, if you can only have it when we take out the shingles and roofs, was there's no other
There
way?
ain't no way, and that's exactly what the contractor said, but
So I'm very inclined for the 2 and 3, between the 2 and 3, guaranteeing that we have a reverse incentivized engineering to at this point. Meaning that whatever it saves us is getting, whatever it charges on future invoicing gets in this. So I think the critical part is that we have that person whenever it's open to tell us yes, no, maybe we need to replace
it's actually work by section, so.
by section and by a complete, once again, the independence, that's why we are the engineer, but then I think we failed in the recruitment. Because that was the idea, was to get not a false defending the chicken, but another chicken defending the chicken.
Sure, yeah, no, that's,
That is the critical part.
So.
If I can add something here, I couldn't, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so I couldn't hear everything that Zhao said, but basically, I mean, I'm also, I agree, you know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, and it's gonna save us a lot of money. So I'm up for that. Now, regarding bringing an engineer to open and check, so I think that you know the previous engineer that came to do a check, they just opened a small hole through the shingles in one of the units and made a whole report based on that. I think that whoever we bring needs to actually do multiple holes, but from the bottom on the stucco, and look inside at at the trusses and look at the sheeting, because the shingles they can see from outside they're how good or bad they are. So to be able to really make an informed decision before we start opening the mansards is to opening from the bottom, which will not affect and it's easy to close. Am I correct in my estimate here and what I'm saying?
I think so, Alan. I would imagine that they could go through the soffit underneath with a camera or something and look in there. But again, that would have to be something that, I looked through a little bit of this report that Robert has here. But I really took the opinion of the roofing company over that report. And again, I'm not sure why I did that, but that's just kind of the way I felt about it.
I don't think that that's a possibility because, opening from the bottom, you won't see the whole,
I just didn't know if they could get a
Yeah,
camera up.
Those two pieces, one is sitting on the building and the other one is suspended. So from the bottom, you won't be able to see the whole truss, the whole running of the truss.
But what I can do is tomorrow morning, I will call ACRC and ask them when and how quickly they could get out here to give us first of all, I would just ask them to give us a quote. What would you charge us to come out and take a look at these mansards and make sure that we're doing the right thing based on, and I can, they know the roofer, and just say based on what John told us, this is what we think. But we need to know for sure, and we need your professional engineering opinion that you're willing to sign your name on the line as the engineer. Because when we do that, my experience has been when we have an engineer that's willing to put their name on the line, they're not willing to fudge stuff, right? Because that's when their engineering license gets involved, right? So if we have someone that's willing to do that, then that lends a little bit more credence than my opinion, which is based on the opinion of somebody else. So I can get that started and find out how quickly they could get out here and what they would charge to do something like that.
Well, can we jump in real quick? So you said something earlier, so what we can do later. speaking of the mansions and putting on the shingles.
Right.
That really kind of grown very truthfully, because the priority really is the roofs, the leaking. That is the priority. There's no reason we can't make the shingles the third phase or final phase of the project. And as they're going through, as things arise, fix them, or maybe do a much more in-depth kind of look at it and see if we have to replace. But again, because of the experience you had before, nobody knows if we had 25% of the answers that were drywall. It just became a huge project and we did it. I personally don't believe it. I just don't. I don't think that was the case. And I think that if we use this is the last phase, and if we do run into something, we can just repair it as we're going through it. It's not like we're gonna rip off everything and, you know. You see what I'm.
I do 100%. And I think that's probably the right way to go. And that way we can get them to give us a per unit price.
Exactly.
Okay, so once we tear these things off in 6 months or 8 months in phase 3, let's call it phase 3, we're going to tear off the shingles on the mansards. Yeah, and then they're going to look, and so if there's something structurally that's really screwed up underneath, then we have to have an engineer of some sort to go.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have post-traumatic stress disorder after this project. So every time I feel raining, I get anxious. So we need the police for that stage. So we need somebody that looks with the contractor to validate those 25%, because that would be, I agree with everything. I just say that we need that independent, and needs to come from somebody completely different. I don't know who, I don't know a lot of
And we can
people
do that.
here, okay? But
Yeah,
it needs to come from probably even different from NV5 to guarantee that this person, whoever knows, does a formal inspection with his name on the line, saying, okay, this is only 2%, 3%, I measure with my, because I think that is the most expensive information you're gonna get. It's like, it's a difference of probably 600,000 plus.
Let's think about this for a second.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 buildings that are fully not torn off, but have been already torn off,
Yeah.
so to speak. So that's 50% of the buildings already that are going to be okay. And so you can't tell me that out of the other 50%, that there's a 20% of the total left. So I
And
mean,
that's why I don't know, it's by section.
Sure.
or by total.
oh,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, but
But we,
But
to-
but I agree with putting the proposal completely oriented to fixing. And with the risk that suddenly we go with the police next to the guy that is doing it, and suddenly we open it, which I think that we saw them at the woods were perfect.
Yeah.
We could look at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not a technician, so I just see
Yeah.
it looks there. But so we still have the option that when we open all the shingles, we really see that everything is rotten.
Yeah, this is.
And then
Yeah.
we need to do it. It's like,
Get rid of the cost plus fee.
And that-
it is the cost plus fit.
and that's exactly what it would be. It would just be a unit price that they would give to you for what they will give in a contract like that is they would give an allowance. Like let's just say they would give us 50 square feet. That's part of their base price.
Yeah.
And then everything after that would be a per square foot price for, let's say, $10 a square foot after that. So, or maybe it's a sheet of plywood or whatever, we'll do a per, however they decide to do it. But, and I can, it gets the RFP, the actual RFP a little bit convoluted, but with enough conversations and sitting in front of these guys, we can walk them through what it is that we want and need them to do.
And I believe that I saw a proposal that you helped bring in. I'm talking about something like 3 years ago, that the proposal was built on that condition. It was like my threshold, which by the way helped us, because now we are talking with banks to get the money to pay for these, and then suddenly one thing is to ask for 700 or 800, another thing is to ask for 1.5 of them.
Right.
And probably we don't even have the leverage to go to 1.5, and that is a very determining thing. So suddenly we need to reduce that level of risk, because the banks from tier 1, I have doubts they would finance as much more than one.
So that's another question that kept kind of weighing. I mean, is financing an issue?
It is an issue.
we are now, and we're gonna talk about this in our treasury report, so it shows 5 banks. We already initiated the process with 3. I'm waiting for a call from the floor. And that means that, and I'll tell you the issue is that we are paying like 700, 800 in terms of maintenance fee, and they will not want to put a special assessment fee per month much bigger than 50%.
Sure.
So these limit us like 350
Okay.
or 700.
Right.
We already taken 170 because this is already the special assessment we have right now, so we don't have a lot of margin there.
Yeah.
So if we go for a roofing without massive replacement, we have margin probably for that.
Okay.
But if we go beyond and suddenly we go back to the 1.8 million of home,
Right.
then that's why the previous board presented an invoice of 12,000 along the next 3 months.
Well, that's a pretty good argument, because it's not even put in the meeting, yes, doing it later in the year or beginning of 2023.
But you are saying even not removing the shingle because from
Exactly, yeah.
not touching the shingle, from I understood from all this, we need to do it. It's like,
Well,
Well, no,
nobody's
I don't
saying we're
think
not going to do it.
When would we actually do it? I'm just asking something we can.
Yeah.
but the question
The problem-
is that
the problem
if
is,
the thing goes over the master. So
Well,
if the roof goes
so
over
it
the
would-
master.
It actually comes over. The
Yeah,
mansard
it's
comes
over.
over.
And imagine that it's rotten and then we do it like this.
Right.
I don't know.
So the way John described it to me is that that he would have never done the mansard first. That he would have done the roof, that he would have done the roof first and then the mansards, because it's exactly what, so the parapet wall, the roofing system goes up the parapet wall, and then the mansard cover comes over.
Oh, so the
And-
roof doesn't go over.
It doesn't have to, but
I'm wondering-
so the mansard, the mansard roofing
Because I
material,
always heard the story, totally
Yeah.
the opposite way.
Yeah.
Which is because it went over the masters, we needed.
No, it does because there is an interface in there, so that's why they put a capping on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is what we need to secure, that all the decking are in good shape,
Right.
because the moment that these have a failure, the decking have a failure, so then the warranty of Duralax is void. So
I understand. Once again, there were lots for me, and I'll say it out loud, it's also inside of the narrative, so what I see here is that this is the roofing, then I put the masters on top, so if I do the mess, if I do the roofing, then if tomorrow we need to replace, there's not a double work on doing that.
The
So-
moment you disconnect the waterproofing to replace the mats of the shingles, you avoid the warranty of Duralax.
So-
In the case that we're
so
working
the-
at this point, and that was the challenge.
I know, and
So
I
the-
think the challenge is.
the TPO would look something like this, and this is the parapet wall inside. Yeah, right, so the roofing material comes up the wall, the mansard cap goes over top of that, so that the water runs over instead of the other way. 'Cause if the mansard was tucked underneath like that, then as the water ran down, it could penetrate and go.
We actually, we stage project.
I recall that I
You were
was
saying,
Joe, I recall that I called a person from Duralast, and I have a letter on email, and in fact, she said that this material overlaps on the decking, and the moment that we actually take this out, the warranty. So I can probably provide that information, and that's not fabricated, but the most important thing is that when we talk with the contractor, we approach to the first solution to put out, like they call a retrofit metal. That it was supposed to anchor the material and hold it, and probably we can, like use it to detach temporarily. Duralast manufacturers say, no, we cannot work with that. So that's why we start looking at reviewing all the max.
So it's a good argument not to use Duralast on the other buildings. I mean, the ones that we have already, we don't have to worry about, we've already taken the masters off.
they
right?
can
So-
get the piece of.
Not only that option, not only that.
Get the piece of everything of whatever season.
So let's clarify then what we're saying and what we're agreeing. And that would be for a couple different arguments, but A, for financing, if we show scope of work is less, then that helps in the financing, correct?
Yes.
B, for if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Two,
If it ain't broke now, we're gonna wait to fix it. It's a better way to say it. Right.
and so, and that weight could be
6 months.
6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe not that long, but essentially get us over the hump of finalizing this project. And that's not negligence on behalf of the board. That is getting the most critical things secured and then revisiting that when the time is right in dry season.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, if we need to get to a vote on this, if we can move, because I have 2 more minutes.
Okay. So do we,
I just want to add something, which is whoever does the roofing by stages, meaning, okay, they're gonna do the roofing and then we do the mansards, needs to guarantee that whenever we change the mansards, they are not gonna jeopardize our guarantee. So it means that we have a guarantee for 20 years, and whenever we do the mansards, okay, we continue. with
And
that.
that'll be part of it.
Okay.
You'll have, yeah,
so do we agree on that?
So we're just gonna leave the managers out of the project for the.
I agree on that.
Yes.
I agree on not fix and not, not doing anything on the mansards if possible.
Not
Beside, obviously,
even-
2 and 3, obviously.
So we keep it with the shingles and the mansards as they are.
Until a later date.
But that also means that for roofs 2 and 3, we need to purchase the shingles that are the same as roofs 1, 4, and Clubhouse.
that shouldn't be a big problem, Alan. We were talking, Robert and I talked about that earlier. I don't think getting the color match, at least not pretty close, should be that big a deal.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
But what we are talking about,
The shingles.
finalizing 2 and 3, and going only for the roofs on 1, 4 and Clubhouse, and don't touch for now mansards or shingles on 1, 4 and Clubhouse. And then waiting for a second stage to look for the shingles, and then in that second stage, I would say, we take out the shingles and put new shingles. And if we take out the shingles and suddenly say, oh my God, this is all broken, and then we put the entire mansards, but we get this a leverage of finalizing this project without having the mansards on the first stage.
And how
Yeah.
we go in terms of assessment, because that would require another assessment. So where are we into that term when it comes to the second stage?
So, oh no, the
It's a-
second stage, we'll always need the second assessment. So with the money we
Well,
have,
that's gonna be a third assessment.
there will be a further assessment that,
I think this is going to be something that we need to.
but yes, let me tell you, so what we are talking about here is that the second assessment maybe will be even under the first one. And always we are playing the game of the 2.5 million. So we are saying that it is an enormous reduction on the effort that the homeowners will pay right now. And then we leave it probably for next year or at the end of this one, the possibility of fund assessment, which by the way, there's another argument there. Never saw the interest rates in the United States in last year so high. And maybe we get immediately better rates for the shingles, which I believe there's still a possibility that the fund assessment doesn't need financing, because if we only need to replace the shingles, how much are shingles are?
Not only the shingles, the decking, because there is already proof
Yeah.
of damaging on the decking, so
Yeah.
that it's not.
But I think that engineering report was only for buildings 2 and 3, right? The ACG one?
No.
That was what they said.
No, I'm talking about the study called roofing, engineer.
Okay, so Alan, I know you need to go. Sorry to
Yeah.
cut you. If we're voting on this, Alan, we do 1, 4 Clubhouse roofs only for right now.
Yes,
The RFP.
I
Do we-
agree with that 100%.
And then it's all either.
Or
All, either or and.
in terms of roof systems.
Yeah,
Okay.
Do we all agree there?
That will not apply to building one.
I agree.
I agree, yes.
That will not apply to
and-
we actually use.
and you're right.
Okay,
I would
Alan,
agree.
we agreed. If you need to go, you can go.
Okay, all right, guys, thank you.
Thank you for
Sorry I
being
have
on
to
the
cut
line.
short. Bye-bye.
And then as of right now, we don't worry about bringing out an engineer.
Not at this point.
The biggest question is about the status of answers, besides of these, the price they are going to give us right now is the final price.
Sure.
We're not going to charge 1 cent more. From my understanding, just checking if this is true, because what they will say about closing 2 and 3 is visible, so they know exactly what they need to do.
And in one foreign clause, nothing is variable, so the price that any contractor slash roofer is gonna give us doesn't have any type of variable.
Potentially. And the only reason I say this is because there's always a chance for a change order here, change order there. There's something underneath they don't see, but it might, it should be minor. Maybe there's a concrete crack on the substrate slab, something that they've got to do some filling of cracks and stuff like
Or an
that.
enclosure.
Yeah,
Feeling, and I don't know. what I'm talking about. They mentioned in the previous project, we need to do some feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly what they cut the corners on the building 3.
Would they need to do that? feeling?
That's what I don't know, because I don't know exactly what was the approach at the end.
we'll get them.
So-
We'll put it on paper and we'll start to get folks out here. And then what we'll see is, you'll get one guy out here who'll say one thing, and then you'll start to know that it's true because the next pass is the same thing, the next pass is the same thing, the next pass is the same thing. Oh, it'll be repetitive, and then you'll know the guy who's full of shit, because he'll say something completely different.
Okay.
And by the way, this is also open to potential homeowners that would like to be in the process.
Okay.
That's 100%. We agree on that.
I mean,
This is
My major concern is, 6 months from now, things can change. And, like the entire, approach to the project will be like halfway, perhaps, like I always, like afraid about temporary, because temporary is always, like being forever. So the shingles needed to have a needed remediation, no matter what, the approach is. But if we don't have a plan that keeps consistency and we are basically, doing it for sure, that this is not going to be something that we're gonna re-examine eventually after 6 months, because after 6 months, things can change and that will stay the same, because for the amount of money that we are making this investment, the overall result is not gonna be shown, because we're gonna see a crappy building from a crappy master from 1974 that is not even updated. And that is one of my biggest concern, because we are spending a lot of money on changing a new roofing system, and the overall is not gonna look, because we are investing on of course, our protection, but it's gonna be an investment that nobody's gonna see. And it's not going to be, at the end of the day, it's not going to be not reliable. It's like it's not to basically make the whole point of the investment. So people want to say, okay, so where is the
No, that-
1 million?
and I agree.
With that.
That in the aspect of aesthetics, I agree, and I think, and that's why we're saying we're not ignoring it, and we're not denying that scope of the project. But we're just delaying it, and that aspect is,
I need to put it in writing and need to actually follow, because if we are not here and the next floor is gonna transfer, so we need to guarantee.
Because I can tell you and put in the minutes that I will fight to do the project entirely, because I want the
Exactly.
proper shingles, etc. So because everybody wants to evaluate the houses, and then it makes no sense that we are investing all.
No, exactly. The unit owner needs to understand, what is the procedure, what is the process.
Can talk about myself, yes, to then terminate the project, yes.
I don't think that we can worry too much about. It's kind of like executive orders. When the next board said we're just gonna ignore them or get rid of them. So we can't guarantee that they're gonna do what we want.
That's exactly one of
We can't guarantee. There's nothing that we can do.
How
We'll
often
sign a
is
contract.
Is it annual?
yeah.
And yes, and that's the.
So we have to start this project by the beginning of next year.
No, we can even start this project this
Well,
year.
no, I mean,
The shingles one, it depends.
yeah,
Because right now, from my understanding, the roofing goes much faster than mansard. So imagine that we get a proposal of $500,000, because now we don't even have to do the shingles. I'm already giving a discount on your value. So if we close everything by 500,000, they do everything in 2 months. They close then after 2 months, and we are already paying the first special assessment. That gave us leverage by the third quarter to go to get the money to at least start the shingles on one building, because the only risk we have is that when we remove the shingles, we need to replace all the mansards. So we need to do it building by building, not to lose once again an invoice of 7.
I think that I said clearly that this is a roofing system and the parapet is a framing with a decking. When you tear off this apart, you will see that you need to replace all the decking on the parapet. So that it's transferred to the mansard.
Okay.
In other words.
But that doesn't mean that the trusses need to be replaced.
No, we're not talking about the structure, we're talking about the decking.
Yes.
What is related to parapet and roofing. But now that needs to be considered because it's not only the waterproofing, it's also the parapet reframing. Because we need to guarantee that these vertical elements are going to be
Structurally
sound in order to apply the new material. So that's what we need to keep in mind.
Yeah. Last thing before you go, because you've taken way too much of our time, Jay, how dare you?
I'm so sorry.
The 2 points in one, temporary coverage. And I'll say it first, temporary coverage and point of contact for you because we have to be going like this. So if you have a question, you need one point of contact from one of us that can either coordinate or provide answers to you. Think about that part real quick. The temporary coverage, you, Alfredo, you had someone come in, Big Al's, they're working on a quote in terms of what that would look like.
The temporary seating.
Yeah, the temporary fix before we actually get on.
Yes, yeah. So that is something that we had said we are still interested in. When Jay brought someone in, it wasn't looking at the temporary component, it was just looking at the macro project and what is involved.
And I can get them back out here and they can redo the plastic and all of that stuff. His point to that was that if we're gonna start the project in 3 weeks or a month, and whatever that looks like, do you want to spend $10,000 to have me out here to do some of this stuff? Now, the worst thing that could have happened is we had no water intrusion last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And so that obviously made everybody go, oh shit, we need somebody out here to do the temporary repair. Now, again, that's a question that you all have to answer, and I can get him out here and we can run caulk but his thing was, I'm going to go around to try to do this right. And I'm going to put flashing around the edge of this thing and try to do it right. And at the end of the day, I'm going to tear all of this stuff back out a month later.
So is there a way to do a better job on the plastic than what they did?
I'm sure. Because that's been blown away. I mean, that's been blown around for months and months and months and months and months.
We also have no pumps up there now, 'cause for sure that's a call with pumps.
There's no equipment up there. I mean, there are tools and some crowbars and stuff up there, but there's no pump that's
Right.
pumping
So
water.
we're at a really weak, vulnerable point.
Right.
So I'm kind of for having somebody come out and read, even if it costs a little money.
To maybe throw some plastic
Yeah.
over top of it or
Whatever it takes, yeah, or lay some pumps up there because there's a lot of pooling water in both of those buildings.
Okay.
And I think that it wasn't great, but it's probably saved us a little bit having those pumps. up there.
The only problem I have is that the only day that they are giving rain is 3 hours tomorrow. So it's between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. With not a 50% probability of rain, we don't even know. So
No, I think that we can take a chance. I think that the temporary solution with the sealers, it's an effective way. The company is giving me 2 proposals. One, to secure the whole perimeter, and second is to secure the 4 units, the 2 units are on the corners, which are the ones that are the most effective. Yeah, so
what would be the plan? So talking about the short for 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. during tonight, there is a probability of rain. What could we do? Nothing? There's nothing. No, but not even, I don't know, there's nothing that can be
well,
done.
I have a roll of flex seal in my house, but I don't think that's enough to slap it on.
what was the guy? And one more thing.
I'm really worried, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, is we're divvying up our energy and our money on something, I don't know what this costs, but I know we're tight on costs, right? I mean, we talked about it. So I'm just worried that we're gonna spend a lot of effort and a lot of money on something that, to your point, we're gonna tear off in, God help us, 2 weeks or so.
Maybe a little longer, maybe a little.
$5,000.
It's not 2 weeks because this is not gonna happen until the FRP is done. We're talking about 2 months,
It's
two
about-
months.
I think it'll be a month.
Why are we doing this for this long, you guys?
Well-
Like, that is insanity.
So first, I've got to get it all put together.
We said April 1st. We said that 2.5 weeks ago. It's April 1st.
There, agreed. I wasn't hired on until this week.
And let me
So-
explain why, because the letter of termination, the final letter, after all the options that are attorneys in kind of conservative way want to give, just left the attorneys on Monday, so we could only hire to start an RFP on Monday.
100%. RFP is always.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Done in a week.
I can have it done hopefully and reviewed by the end of this week and sent out by Monday, hopefully. So that being said, it may need a week for RFIs, more often than not, to visit the site. And then another week to get us their numbers. That's 2 weeks. Then it's, these guys, everybody on the board really wants to meet with whoever the perspectives. That's another week. That's 3. Now, if there's any permit issues that we've got to get solved, that's another week in there somewhere. And this is if
No, it's not an interview
everything,
process.
that-
We need to have an interview process.
yeah.
No, I'm just saying that probably we don't need the 5 days, okay.
And we could do it all in one day. Like, I mean, honestly, we could do it where, all right, we got the numbers on Friday. We call
Whatever it
everybody,
takes to condense the time.
we call everybody that Friday and go, okay, we got all your numbers. And we want to choose contractor A, contractor B, and contractor C. You guys need to be here on Tuesday. You're here at 8, you're here at 10, you're here at 12. And then,
Anytime secure that you guys aren't gonna have any problem.
but I think if,
It's all our money. It's not like it's just mine or this, or it's all our money.
I think if
Can
we're
I ask a question then, and this might, and 2 of you are here who had damage. We're approaching it from, we imagine, we can't imagine, but we imagine every single time it rains what you guys have gone through. We're looking at it from, we have to do something.
What about the pumps, getting the pumps back on again, on the roof? Because it was minimal, last time there was way less water coming in, because the pumps were weak, right? So, it rained pretty hard that weekend.
Yes, it did.
Never worked.
The pumps
They
were,
were, they were
No.
disconnected. That was one of
okay,
the.
we got way less water intrusion in our
Yeah.
place last time, so I was thinking.
so the rain
I
was
went
scared by the
outside, I
idea
put
of
my
pumps.
feet in the room, in the room, because it was like 2 inches of water and I
And
was
the pump
trying to be at a drop but the following day, not Monday, I was there and all the pumps were, with the cables, no
Question, the same way there is a 911 restoration or a Surf Pro, isn't there a company that could bring some system, look at the plastics and just put some glue on that to guarantee, like?
But that's exactly what Big Eye is about.
Okay.
Just putting, temporary sealing on the perimeter of the area.
So the question to you to it, you can answer, not answer, however you see fit, but we're trying to approach it from a way of, we're in the vulnerable state right now, in between all of this. Does it make sense for you for the board to do a temporary protection like this?
I think it went last time, because since my dryer vent got repaired, we paid for the dryer vent to get repaired. Natalie and I didn't get anything, Marcelo did, my other neighbor on the other side did, and nothing's ever been done. We suspect that might be the back part of his house, because it comes in through the kitchen, right? We're gonna do like a root cause analysis as we're standing there, like, going, where's the water coming from? So we think it's like the back of the house, probably where the mansard was removed and replaced.
So you didn't get water, or you got water?
I did not, Marcelo did.
Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah. So I don't know why the mansard on my house is different than the mansard on his house.
So yeah, so the 4 units and all of them have a lot of water penetration. Even Cavallo have water, going to the channel. So
So
was completely, like flooded, and Marcelo, the kitchen was completely, destroyed. And the ceiling-
I talked about like cracks, to your point, like where the roof meets the edges of the buildings, like near where the answers are. I get humidity in my house, so I'm sure there's water intrusion, but it's not visible at least the last couple of times. I thought this was gonna be a shorter process and we would be done, we said April 1st with our last time we met. I understand that there's a lot of mitigating factors in that whole process. I understand that, I guess let's try to keep the cost of it low. I would say fine, as long as we keep the cost of it low, because we have limited money. I mean, no one knows how better than those.
Our only concern is to get you guys while this process is taken, completely open and exposed to another flooring. So because this is going to damage more your contents inside,
Yes, of
and
course.
it's gonna make it worse for you, for us, for everybody. So I think that we want to do a prevention and giving a quick response to solve a little bit of.
And so in that, I would say if we could spend $5,000, $3,000, something like that, that just heavy duty plastic tape, something that lasts 3 weeks, whatever it is, something just to mitigate that would help.
I have a feeling to your point about it to be a sealant. So Junior did apply a waterproofing sealant that also was usable in a wet surface, because if you guys remember, the roof was wet, we prepared it. So that way it worked.
Yeah.
God,
And then
We talk about two,
And then-
bituminous or ceiling.
And then
Ceiling
to
is the most
to
important.
your point, and also to the point, my second point that I was making in terms of point of contact. The only way this is going to be done in an expedient matter is if this board is aligned and responsive and directly engaged with decision-making, fact-finding, information giving, and all that. And so I go back to that second point. We need a point person for Jay to facilitate this.
And a lot of the questions that I have, I can do D. I mean, that's easy, but if I've got somebody out here and I need to call somebody, if you can't make it, and you're not here, that's fine, right? But I just need to know. So, the idea would be that I would communicate with the whole board with the questions. Like, hey, I've got this question, blah, 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 what do you guys think? But if I need to meet somebody on site, then it could be any of the 5 of you or however, and again, that doesn't matter. And I would do my damnedest to plan that out instead of being like, hey, it's 11, are you guys here?
Yeah, but I would say I can volunteer, I can actually do that.
Okay. Perfect. All right, great, thank you.
How quickly could the gallon?
I'm waiting for this proposal to be.
Is this the big out?
Yeah.
Big out, okay,
He says 3 weeks from now.
That is pointless.
Point.
right. But if he can be out here tomorrow to throw some sealant down and some penetrations that he can see, at the very least, if it's a couple thousand and everybody gets a little bit more of a, my stuff's not gonna get floated.
Just less water.
It was just scared. It was scared of the pumps.
Figure it out.
All right. You don't need anything else from me?
No, we
Okay.
made the decisions on all the points and
Yep.
we're good to go.
All right. And I will be in touch tomorrow. And I'm gonna spend most of my day working on this tomorrow.
And you will send us the RFP document by Friday at the latest.
You will get something from me tomorrow to let you know that it'll either be tomorrow or Monday. Because what I'll do is I'll put it together and then I'll have somebody in the office review it first. So that you're not getting garbage, right? I mean, I can put it together and make some mistakes. So I'm gonna get it reviewed tomorrow and hopefully get it to you by Friday.
Okay, and then Alfredo, you'll be the point person. And so anything, he'll email, text, you guys have each other's phone numbers?
Yeah, thanks to everybody, so if you want to hear somebody can jump. that's-
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
WhatsApp groups work well too. You guys don't set those.
We have it with us. Yeah. Approval of minutes, Alfredo sent.
I'm sorry,
That's good. I read through them. I'm good. Approve. Treasurer's report.
I'll go fast because the pending points from the property manager are almost the same. The only one that was done was the budget, so you might to see exactly the same.
Can you turn your volume on yours and I'll mute this?
Perfect. So the treasury report starts by that. The pendings out of the 10, the only thing that was done was the budget communication and the scheduling. All of the other ones we have not, and we need to have a conversation to reinforce some of these requests. And now we also have pending, so we took out one topic and we put one, which is the Alfredo's reimbursement check out of these two requests we have here, and the Primex service checks. And when we have your email to Primex, but we are assuming they are until the end of the month, but until they get us the invoice, the full invoice for the month, never worked. Okay, so now the second point is about the banks that have been contacted for the financing. So we have contacted Valley Bank. We held a meeting on March 28th. We received the documents and financial requests that will need to be sent to proceed with the loan application. We have contacted Truist. The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, April 4th, but we already received the documents and financial requests that will be needed to proceed with the loan application. We have contacted Bank United. A conference call was held on April 2nd, and we received also the list of documents and financials. Almost the documents and financials are almost the same. Some of them I have other requests, like for example, our own bank, Valley Bank. Popular Community Bank was contacted. We are waiting for a call from a person. I have the name, but not here. The only one I was not able to contact is Synovus. The IVR is completely chaotic, and if we want really a proposal also from Synovus, we need to go to the branch because there's no way to contact the branch through the IVR. We just go into a loop. Additional decisions. So we sent a check for Carlos Perez, our handyman, 921.66, and Eber Perez, our gardener, by 966.67 to discuss and decide on this meeting. Status of Comcast. So I know that we have now to substitute a model, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no status change.
Okay. Okay, and then in terms of 2022 and 23 financials discussion, I don't know if you want to
Let's do it now,
Okay, so
if you're fine with that.
I'm 100% fine with that. So I've been contacting and with the support of Robert, several auditing companies that were recommended by one of the attorneys that we contacted, Gregory Eisinger. We contacted several of these recommendations. Some of them are no longer doing auditing, like Vishnu Sharma. Some of them are, in fact, former police officers that do investigation after the auditing. We have contacted also Gersel, Rosen, and Goldberg, and also Alex Leonardo from Audit CPAs. And we have two proposals. By the way, we have one proposal and one voice proposal because the proposal still didn't arrive. One to do an auditing of $7,000 per year with also the closing of the accounts of 2022 and 2023. So $7 per each one of the years. From Gersel, Rosen, and Goldenberg. And this one has been highly recommended even by the people that we are talking. So South Florida property owners mentioned that the biggest and the most strong to do a formal auditing. Vishnu Sharma, the same thing. And then we did a meeting with one of the Luis Lavandeira from this company, Gersel, Rosen, and Goldenberg. The interview went very well. We also interviewed Alex Leonardo for Audit CPAs. It was an interesting one, but it was not as good. The difference is from Gersel, Rosen, and Goldenberg, the auditing and the closing of the accounts is $7,000. We already have the proposal by year. And from Alex Leonardo from Audit CPAs, we have it at 6,000. And I want to have several things to do this. So 2022 was not closed by the previous board during the entire year of 2023. There were adjustments recommended by Akron and Roman that were never approved by the previous board during the entire year of 2023. There was never clarity on why the previous board has not approved the adjustment and not moved ahead with the closing of the year of 2022. Those adjustments were made by the property manager by the end of the first 2024 quarter without previous communication to and decision from the current board, which we believe is very strange. The current board of directors has not been informed of the existence of several accounts active in the year of 2022 and only saw these accounts when the BOD received an Excel with the 2022 adjustments, where these accounts were mentioned for the first time and zeroed at the end of the year of 2022. So we've been asking for bank statements, which are the bank statements we have. We only were reported on Valley Bank. We have at least signed off 6 accounts on 2022. And by the way, there is one account that was never previously reported by the property manager, appearing now in March 2024, with a balance from the 2022 missing bank, which is signed off. So besides Valley Bank, it looks like we have a new bank account, which is Synovus. The current board of directors has been asking for additional bank statements without any response from the property manager. Probably right now it's more than probably around 2 months. And we are doing only to close the 2022 and the 2023. We have several options here. We can do once again a review. We can do an audit, which is the thing we are proposing right now, or we can go to the full audit of a forensic audit that will cost us more than $50,000. And unfortunately, we don't have the money to do the forensic. So I would do the recommendation to these boards to do an audit, both 2022 and 2023.
Thank you, Joel. And really, there's a lot of meat in that sandwich that you just packed. And I think really the most important thing is, and that you've unearthed, is the element of things that just keep popping up. And in order for us to turn the corner, both in terms of future financing and future clarity and transparency, I think it is important for us to do an audit for both of those years that allows us the stamp of approval, if you will, that this is that we are in a proper state and give advice to us on areas that need improvement, and whether that be coding, whether that be accounting, whether it be any number of other things. So for me, I think it's an important step for us to take. And granted, you always want to be forensic in everything, but for us doing a forensic audit is the price to benefit ratio isn't there. And so to me, I think the audit is the perfect middle ground for that.
If we do this audit for 2023, will this give us everything we need to approve the adjustment for 2022? Because we didn't close that meeting.
So yes, not only they would do the audit, but in the proposal, then I don't know if you already shared. No. But in the proposal, they also close the year. So they do the audit, they close the year, they do all the recommendations, and they raise all topics, and you're going to see the proposal, not only in terms of bad accounting, but also about questioning procedures that we are witnessing right now. Like the one we have recording, and I will do it in my last exchange of emails about the tenant payments of one of my members. This is very serious. But we will which will reveal part of this. It's not a forensic, it means that you're not going to go through all the items, but they will do a 28, we focus on the big items, etc. And this is the Garza Rosen and Oliver that met before. These are like the most highly qualified company to give you. The price compared with Alex Leonard is 1,000 plus. So he said 6,000, this is 7,000. But remember, to close the accounts, we always need to pay like 2.6, 2.8. You see the inflation in what we've been paying. So the difference for the audit is like 4.6.
So which one do you want?
I would definitely recommend the laws and go.
I'll have a job.
I second.
Questions we could have?
Yeah, I motion we carry out audit on fiscal year 22, 23.
I agree.
Okay,
And then we have only to decide a workshop to review the survey after.
excellent. Thank you, Joel. We had Jay here, so that's point number 5, updates on NV5 and current status of roofing project. We'll go to number 6, updates on legal meetings. So we had a closed door meeting with our lawyers yesterday. Feels like forever ago. And this was, there's multiple purposes of that call. High level, the items were Absolute Pro, Fort Dallas Trust lien, ACG engineer lien. And then we talked about finance stuff that wasn't necessarily private, but it was about in terms of audit, how do we do that? They just said a vendor is a vendor is a vendor. So as long as we approve, then that's good to go. In terms of Absolute Pro, your point is well taken, why that takes so long. Joel shed some light in that. So I'll say I potentially have misspoke before where I said they were terminated because we sent a termination letter. They did not fulfill their requirement by that deadline. Then they came back after that deadline and said, we're working on the documents. And speaking with our lawyer, and I won't get into all the details, looking long-term, and long-term being what are the next potential steps in this process. He said it's best to allow them to deliver the materials and see what's there. So we gave them a new deadline, and that was then the final deadline. Again, it goes to license insurance, and you already know the answer to that. But it was very clear, even through our job was to show we are doing everything possible to give you every avenue possible to provide any information possible that validates your claim. And when that was finally not satisfied, then after midnight that day, the following day, the final termination, that was actually it was Friday. Yeah. So that's why they came then Monday and Tuesday and cleared away their stuff. The challenge that we had in terms of him, it's not him and it wasn't NV5, was we received the advice not to formally sign anything in terms of RFP until that step was done. So that delayed it.
You don't want to ask questions about pursuing legal action steps. Is there discussion on that yet?
Yes. There's discussions and just working on best path forward. So that was that. In terms of the 2 liens, Fort Dallas, there's 2 key points to a lien. One, that it was delivered appropriately, and 2, that the goods and services rendered were actually given. And our point was, no, that is not the case. We received the drawings, and even we can get into the nuances. We never reached out to Fort Dallas to say we want drawings and trusses for 1 foreign clubhouse. AP did. there's a legal argument there, but the point here was we never received the trusses. And so that lien was based on that they delivered the trusses. And so that argument is now being fought between two lawyers, our lawyer, their lawyer. Again, this conversation was last night, so I don't have any news on that, but that's the path forward on that. Same thing on ACG Engineering, where ACG Engineering provided us a invoice for 23 and January and February. Yeah. And in February, it showed site visits almost daily. When there wasn't any work being done. And so that is also being argued and fought for on our behalf.
Was January, meeting was in February, so we will not get in the January. We never received any January. The other thing is that we also checked to pay the December invoice. And now they're saying we never received that invoice to create like the network. So, and so when we saw the meeting, there's a big difference here because then I asked candidates, and once again, candidates told us, oh, yes, they have never received, they never told us before that. So we also checked, we sent a check, it was sent to ACG Engineer, and now it puts that ACG Engineer move out the place, and we never told about this. So even the December that appears on the link, we also checked with them our argument they never received.
Almost intentional.
No. And I'll end on that, and I'll end just on a brief update while everyone is still here. The board had discussion. Obviously, we've been meeting weekly. We're going to change the structure of the meetings. We're still going to meet weekly, but the first meeting of each month will be everything project-based, but also operational items. The rest of the weeks will just be project-based meeting. And then, because we were spending 2-3 hours here every week, so we restructured that. So tonight we'll be going also into operational things, but the rest of the weeks in April should be shorter and more focused just on roof, contractor, RFP, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. 50-year recertification.
We were able to get an extension granted from by the city until April 27 to submit the sign and seal report from the engineers, so they are ready to work. Tonight, Rob Bosher, the electrical engineer, will be assigned to check on the illumination portion of the electrical specification, and they are working on obtaining the proposal for the thermometers, because that is a subcontractor. Bruce Rondy, this is the structural engineer, will be coming on Monday, April 8th, and we will do the follow-up with all the buildings and the report. And he would like to access to at least 2 units per building.
How do we do that?
Well, we select pictures. I don't. Yeah, they need to actually have like the overall view of 2 units to overall, like make a considerable approach. I probably will say a unit that probably have all the elements intact that are, preserved, like a open balcony, railing, a structure, like functioning properly. And we need to, like look.
And it doesn't matter 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom, and we don't need to show the differences.
He said just only 2 units per building.
And that would be Monday?
Monday, so we need to send, well, first we need to understand, who we are going to approach.
So the less changes internally would be the ideal. I think people that move the electric board.
No, because the lady, where I understand, they need to have access from the back. They need to check on the structure, they need to check on the balcony, and definitely you need to have access. There are some units that you can access from the back, from the rear. I don't know if yours is the deck. But I mean, for instance, unit one, the building one, they have access from the gate on the back, because they
Okay.
also have access. Mine doesn't have. It's the
Okay,
only one. So probably we can decide it if we choose.
We can, because this is electrical, we kept the board and said.
No. The electrical is different. I'm talking about the structural. The structural is coming on the 8th, on Monday. And he is the one that requests to have at least access to 2 units per building in order to have like a comparable. So you volunteer?
Sure.
Okay. I cannot volunteer because my conditions are completely different, especially on the back.
I don't know.
I just have 2 dogs right now.
Okay. Should we ask for volunteers?
Yeah, so if it's building before.
No, because I don't have an enclosure. So I would probably say that it's not so modified.
So we need 8 people.
And it's not on doors.
I think I need to actually produce a letter,
To the owners that there may be someone coming on Monday. Okay,
What do you think?
the letter. That's good.
To inform, to brands or do ourselves by delivering door by door.
Primax.
Brands, okay.
You good with that?
Meanwhile, I was just asking, because we need some changes, so I don't know.
Yeah, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was more get one, you've seen one, I guess.
Lost wages. You're
That would
good?
be it.
Okay.
That would be it for the-
Thank you. Next one is new property management company. So we've gone through multiple interviews and processes. Thank you, Alfredo, for organizing that. And we're down to 2. And we really need to make a decision ideally tonight on one way or the other, because time is running out for them to get started up for the transition, and I don't want to set a new company up for failure because they didn't have time, and I don't want to make it stressful on the owners, because the owners will need to change how they pay if they're set up on automatic payments or not, and there just needs to be a lot of communication out to the community. Not sure exactly how to do this in terms of preference. For a long time, my preference was actually first service. But then when we went to renovations and saw their building, I was impressed with the professionalism of their staff and what is there. I don't think the call today was, I'm not sure what happened on the call today, but I think that wasn't the best impression of them, but I don't think that's a showstopper. And so for me, and my opinion is 1 of 5, but just to get the ball rolling, I think renovations was both from a price point, both from professionalism, and looking at that, everything involved. They seem like a better fit for Leeward Point. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think for price, I like also that the system is interactive, which is something we evaluate very positively, because if we can interact with the system of renovations. The fact that we have access to the team since day one, I think is very important, because it's not only the commercial interface, it's like understanding the people that we're gonna deal. And I must say that I was incredibly impressed, especially after being in the office of Primex and then going to the office of renovation. I could understand why we are in that stage. So my vote would go to renovation.
Brian, Alfredo?
I think for me, you know, I was knowing renovation. I know exactly that, you know, it's a very good team that produced and delivered. And I also was impressed, you know, by looking at the facility. Although I like a for service approach, and I was very impressed with them. I know that the price point is very determined on this case, but I mean, the level of commitment of this group that they put up these 2 last week to accommodate to all our meetings and to work, even, I don't know if you saw the emails of this lady working until 10, sending emails from the office. I think for me it was like, wow, this lady is really responsible and he wants to, you know, like make it happen. So for me, that was something that I was looking and I said, well, I mean, for me, it's something that it's more than I would expect from a company, and for that reason, renovation, it took my decision, you know, at the end.
I was unfortunately on board when we actually hired him, and I chose renovation to actually did a presentation too.
Okay.
And they were still very impressive. They were just a little bit more expensive. And I didn't balance out the, you know, the integrity that, you know, because it's hard to do that. You got to see the movie before you like it. And although it started off with renovation, was definitely a close second after the meeting with him a couple times. I would be 100% on board with him.
Okay. Good. So I make a motion that we reach out to renovations to get the ball rolling, hire them as our next property manager. Primex is with us through the end of April. And so we would need to get that ball rolling. Before we make that motion, I wanted to say during that call, I left the door open because I don't want us, I never just sign a contract just as they give it. I think there's always negotiations available. So I wanted to leave the door open for us if we saw something that we can go back and sort of say, here's where we can find some savings. That's why I said what I said today in the meeting with them. But so my motion is higher renovations, property management, and get them going. Then just any discussion? Okay, we're good on that. Flock camera.
Well, I think I'm still waiting for the results of the resumito. I think that yeah, we're waiting for the document correction from flow camera from the city submission. Mayor can do this job, but the price is a little bit expensive. It's $2,500. This is not including trenching, backfilling, and permit. And the permit by itself is about $560. So we're talking about $3,100 for that. So my take from this is that since this is going to be all permitted and we're not gonna take any chance. I think that we should actually look for any other electrical contractor because.
That was
he
from
wasn't-
Mega.
Yeah, he was from there, and I actually begged last time, and I needed to confirm with Alan because Alan had a previous estimate from him, which I don't know if it's true, but it was less than this amount, 2,500. So I was really in shock and said, well, I mean, this is a little bit too pricey, and I thought it was because of the permit. But then on the estimate, he said backfilling, trenching, and permit is not included. So I said, wow, but this is already, too much.
Yeah,
So
that's too much.
my only electrical contractors that I can refer are no longer, with me, so I'm actually out of electrical contractor for open to any suggestion. So, if anybody can suggest, I actually talked with Junior and, he told me that he probably can come here eventually and offer because he has the IPC and he has the electrical group with him, so he's gonna look on that and, we probably would put out a proposal on that. Yeah, exactly.
Who's the proposal from, Mega?
From the crew that did the electrical fund. So I'm a student. Who's.
Yeah. Okay. Vents.
I spoke with.
The driver.
Yes.
No, because I actually called, like before, come out with a meeting and he gave me the update. In fact, he spoke with, Francisco Ortiz, our
Who did?
official. So he actually, a junior, the contractor, told me that he made a complaint under the chapter 1, which is the requirements for the city of the contractor. So every city has a procedure. So from his understanding, that shouldn't be replaced. It's only a repair because the vent was already existing. So he's actually making an allegation that shouldn't, be a violation because it's not a replacement, it's a repair. So Francisco Ortiz told Junior that he need a letter and they probably are going to come at any point to evaluate that situation, and that was the overall information that he said. So in worst case scenario, because this is something that I was proposing, in case that the city needs the permit for one reason or another, the permits for each unit, I'm talking about unit 16 and unit 15, will be $450, a total of $900. And for a vent on unit 11 will be $1,100 because that is actually the replacement of the vent, of the roof vent.
So just.
Yeah, just for the permit, it's $900 for unit 16 and 15, but for unit 11, it's the whole thing because remember that, it's basically what we're paying for each unit because how much was the bill? It was $450, so it's going to be about that.
So
$1,000 per unit.
that would only have to be paid if the argument is lost.
If the argument is lost, exactly. If it's not, they can do the replacement and they can have no problem of putting a permit because technically they should. So that's the point.
Alfredo being very kind and explaining the city has no idea what they're gonna do. Literally no idea. They're a disaster. When Junior asked those probing questions, they're like, well, technically you kind of have to, there's a lot of questions of who's even paying here, there's a lot of mentions that we can imagine, right? But it sounds like the last time you've spoken to him, so they're having a conversation with Mr. Ortiz to get the direction. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
Okay.
If it makes you feel any better, it has prevented 2 floodings in my house, which would cost way more than that. It makes me feel better.
Yes, that does make me feel better. Thank you, Diane.
But
Nothing.
The last two breaks.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any new information on Unit 41 balcony repair. I was out of town from Thursday until yesterday, the night before. So what we're trying to do there and in connection to the balcony repair and your railing fittings is get one contractor in that can do both of those. So we're working on those. So that's not forgotten coming up.
I just wanted to clarify the spackling, I guess the part at the bottom, the cement part where the.
On the balcony?
Yes,
Yeah.
but on the underside where you have like a roof for the patio area of the balcony part, that's where I noticed like a little spots. So,
Okay,
and like little hole, so that means that there's something happening, so that's why I wanted someone to come look at that part as well. And I made that very clear years ago.
okay. No, and that's good. And you know, when we get that contractor or contractors in, if there's multiple, you know, in case for multiple bids. We'll coordinate with you and make sure you're there ideally, sort of show underside and above side. Uh-huh.
For that particular subject, I did a research and I called a few companies
Okay,
for the stucco repair, for only the stucco repair. And I came across with 3 companies and they put a proposal on fixing what they call more like makeup, because there's some a situation that needs to be determined by the 50 years for certification engineering report,
okay,
which is going to be focused on those elements. But for now, because this is mostly, you know, cosmetic repair, so what we can do is just to demolish the area that is already loose, to secure that, to avoid the plaster to come. And the price is for first company is Jetty Construction Group, 2,800. This is going to
for
this
Demo?
covers demolition, concrete curing, ceiling plaster with the finish and paint. So that will be for about 45 square feet, because Gregory's they have, you know, a lot of cracks in the front of the stucco that is basically, you know, like prone to fall in anytime. So the first company was 2,800. Second one is another one I buy, is 3,200. And the third one, I'm still waiting for the proposals, but they never.
And that's demolition and repair.
And plaster, yes, basically, you know, like put the plaster makeup and keep the plaster, but not fixing the issue that, you know, like probably the recertification engineer will see and will reduce. Because eventually we need to actually come up with a project to fix some of the balconies.
And our deadline for the 50-year was April 28th, 27th. Okay, so we should be getting that in the next few weeks and, okay,
But that, it's something that if we all agree, we can, you know, start doing. It will probably take about 3 days to complete the job, because they need to actually go by stage, because it's that's
like let it cure.
Yes, so 3 days and that was it.
Should we wait for it to be filed for the inspection, or should we just do a motion that whatever all these proposals are the cheapest we advance?
Well, this is, as I said to you, it's a cosmetic solution, because right now, if we are actually doing the whole complete restoration on the balconies, it will be more costly, because another techniques and another implementation have to be, set for the balcony. Means that you need to demolish the front part, set it on side, like a concrete has to be poured inside, and there is a lot of job that needs to be done that it's out of the scope of work of what is the fix in the makeup that we're doing. For the, you mean the longevity, the,
What is the cosmetics? Because for example, we painted the top. And the painting the top, there will be some of the rusty parts. So is the cosmetics or is it just?
the cosmetic, yeah, he guaranteed that it lasts between 4 to 7 years. Because when he cured, because right now that concrete the spouting fell off from the, the bottom part of the slab. And there's a corrosion there, so they need to actually cure the concrete, seal it, and once you seal it, so then you can apply the stucco base and then the finished stucco, and then the paint, so definitely nothing is gonna come up. So that's the guarantee, say 4 to 7 years, but they don't guarantee that this is going to last forever because, the major repairs, inside repairs needs to be done, and that's what the engineer recertification will dictate
Highlight,
at the end,
yeah.
yes. And if we have to come up with a plan for that, if it's really delicate and really, like highlighting on importance, so we need to start, creating a project for that.
So if we are not dependable on the energy five, I would say to go between the two, is the less expensive. I don't know the price of the third one. We don't.
It's gonna be a balance.
Times that we are only going to talk about stuff in the beginning of the next month, because meanwhile, we're just talking about the problem.
This is just repatching, basically. Repatching, like half of the balcony that it's stucco losing. And I think that estimate was very decent, 28. So I will pass the invoices or whatever decision you want to take.
Yeah, I don't know enough, not that you haven't provided enough information, I'm just ignorant on the subject. I had reached out before I went out of town, this was last week or the week before, on the, to a concrete contractor. I need to go check my emails. Because I think you're right in terms of concrete itself is pricier. But we need to take that balcony and your railing connection into consideration. And if,
But this is finishing and the other thing is stucco, so that's two different.
and that those companies can't do both.
They are only a stucco professional, so this is, I don't want to
Okay.
get into any detail of any general contractor. This is, plastic companies.
I still would like them to take an estimate of the stuff, to see the stucco, to have like an idea of what's going on. So when someone comes here, they should be doing an estimate. So I already spoke to Greg and he told me somebody already came out to do an estimate. So they didn't come to.
Who's,
Greg is.
oh, okay, yeah, got it.
He was the one who asked me for help. Here I am helping him and he seems to be helped first, it feels like.
Yeah,
Even though I'm the one trying to help him,
right.
which I do all the time here at the
No, and that's why I wanted to reiterate. We're on it, it's not forgotten and pushing forward. And so do we, in terms of this, do we say, I mean, do we agree to that? I mean, it seems
I would say so.
expensive, but stucco's not what it used to be, I guess.
But consider the surface, it's all, the bottom part is like a half of the balcony. We have 5 feet projection and you are going to repair because there is a line of repair because there was a previous repair and you can see the line of the stucco that is for either poorly done, crafted, And that is the reason why it's falling off.
Now, let me
can
ask
see
you this, because when we went and looked at it, you showed how water drips down the side and sort of goes under the balcony.
Yeah, but the main issue is that all the balconies were fixed are owner's convenience, and they retile and they put, the tiles on top of the slab. So without consider proper waterproofing. So water seep underneath of the tile, and that's what causes the corrosion, because the slab as a porous surface absorb the water and actually rots all the structural inside, all the members. And that's why, because, like the spell, the Stockholm, the list. So they are not going to go into that detail, although we need to review eventually in the future, because based on the Champion Tower example, we don't want to, to take
Right.
that chance. And that engineering report is what's going to dictate if we really need to go and look carefully about.
At every single balcony.
Single balcony. So for this time being, I think that the most easy cosmetic approach to solve the problem and, keep it out of the way, it's to propose the stucco finish. Of course, he's gonna try to, to cure and to make sure that he does the proper, like channeling for drip edge, because that was completely running all the way there. It didn't have the indentation, because if you see on all the balconies, the proper way of doing it is that you have an indentation of like 1 inch in order for the water, the drip edge. It's not like an inverted drip edge. It doesn't go all the way to the inside of the under the slab. So he's proposing that. It's gonna take 3 days. He will do it on the weekend, taking, chances that we are not gonna deal with any things about, like permit and stuff like that. So he can actually do it, yes, do it from Friday, Saturday, and finish on Sunday, and then we can get it out.
Okay,
Okay, so.
any discussion points? Okay,
So we make a motion for the approval of. You were not doing the motion.
I wasn't, no, but I can.
The motion is for the 2.8 or the third one if it's less.
Exactly. I'm choosing the two ones that I have.
No, he means the cheapest one out of those two, and if the third one comes in cheaper than that, yeah.
Your discretion.
Maintenance updates.
Miami fire equipment.
Miami what?
Miami fire.
Okay.
He will be calling us, for me, to set up an appointment for further fire extinguishers. We are due already 1 year, and there's like few units. I didn't know that we have 9 units. And they are going to inspect all of them. They're gonna check if they are good, in good condition, and each unit costs for doing the inspection, it's $20 each. So it's about like
180?
Yeah, $180, $200 maximum. But they also told me that since there are some equipment that actually have a warranty from the manufacturer from 6 to 12 years, they might observe the situation of each unit or each extinguisher, and if we needed to replace, so will be $89 for each unit to replace, under the manufacturer warranty. But we need to.
We have 9 of these.
Now, yes, we have 4 in each building, and we have like 1, how many, 2? We have 9 already counted. So,
So $20 per unit inspection. If that fails, then it's $90 to replace it.
$89, yes.
And does the $20 count towards the 89?
First is the inspection, and to change the units, it's $89. So first they're gonna actually, like check the fire extinguisher, and then they're going to tell me if the equipment is good to, to replace, and then he will count it and say, okay, so how many units are going to be replaced and how many can stay the same.
Okay. Fire safety. Water meter readings report.
First, I want to thank Michael here. With your spreadsheet, very much. It's awesome. So I was, actually, you guys were to me before I got to that. There was a spike in water usage, 6,000. Something like that. And the only one that was an anomaly was units 1 and 2. What are the ones that are together, 2 and 3? That have the same water.
The one
above the other. Yeah, exactly. So it was, I don't know what unit it's coming from. But they had a 25% increase. Where everybody else was really at the normal range, so I'm assuming that's where it came from. This was very effective last time, if you remember, in the other building, we just got hold of the real estate agent, whatever it was, we got access. So I'm not sure how to get access to that unit. Can we just knock on the door? Should we have Tiffany send a letter and ask for permission? I don't even know if the guy who bought the other unit, wasn't that one of those units?
No, Michael Lewis still live.
Oh, okay.
He's renting until the 14th,
Okay.
so,
it is.
It was. Okay.
He's still
yeah,
living
it
there.
was.
Okay, so, I feel uncomfortable just knocking on somebody's door, I don't know, so should we send a letter to see if, or just maybe even call them if we have the information, say, hey, listen, check your toilets are running or anything like that, because that's a pretty steep increase. What do you think about that? I believe that I want to comment, and say that everything's checking and goes. Oh, that's what I use, you check, so he has numbers from that, it's all 45%. And then, but I say, then you can go off in one store, besides the list, just see if we have a solution. Because in 2 days, it will be here on Saturday, so, I don't know. Just saying that, the error.
If we could tape a letter to their door or something, and then Carlos come Saturday.
Just let them know the cost and using the bathroom.
I'm not like looking at anything that costs 3 months better. He's not gonna do that.
He won't be
He's at
at the horse races.
have to let him know ahead.
Okay,
Last thing that we received this letter, I think that today, I think Primex also needs to be aware. This is a notice of renewal community association registration. This is something that Miami-Dade County implemented last year, and Primex was on top of that. So after the association files its initial registration, they must file a renewal registration each year by February 1st and every 12 months thereafter, reflecting any changes to the information. Condominium Association must register annually with the Department of Regulatory on Economic Resources and Consumer Protection Division in order to provide an easily accessible and centralized registry of documents that the association is generally required to maintain under the Florida statutes. So that was implemented last year. An association might designate a property manager to fulfill the obligation. Leeward Point has designated Primex to do the filing. We have a couple of options. First, ask Primex if they want to continue with the renovation because they already know exactly what to do, or we hold it and we actually give it to the new
wasn't the
management
deadline
company.
February 1st?
Yes, it's already, it's already passed. They say failure. So the standard items needed for the submittal are the declaration of a condominium, proof of insurance, annual budget, assessment, and planned capital project. So it has to happen on April 10th after the budget is approved.
Then I would say wait for the new property manager, and that's a good way for them to just go through the documents, get used to it, and
Yeah.
then they're on record there and it's not a Primex receiving future mailings and other things, that it
Okay.
goes right away to them.
So the annual fee is $50 for the association registration and $1.50 per unit. So counting that is about $61.50. It's gonna be around $111.
Jesus. Lord.
But I'm counting it's money.
So I'm thinking about the associations are, well, it's, I mean, that can put a bunch of money in their pockets.
But yes. And one thing that I forgot about the maintenance, that we painted electrical rooms, clean it up, ready to go. And next Saturday, we're gonna start doing the repair of the central area where buildings 2 and 3 are, the garden, the little gardens that are facing Diana's and Ronald's units. So
In
the-
between the buildings.
yeah, the irrigation system is broken and that needs to be repaired.
It-
And we already have the components, we already have everything.
Okay,
ordered
I would
from
just
last year.
say, due to everything, I would just notify the gentleman on the corner that that's happening.
No, it
Before,
doesn't affect anyone because he's in the central area, in the island.
on the
Where,
island,
yeah, where the two trees are, the oak trees are.
oh, by the mailboxes,
By the mailbox,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
the
got
island, the
it, got it.
central island.
okay.
Also,
And there's one last thing, that's the, no, newsletter. Just to make that short, what we're wanna be doing down the road is creating a newsletter that for you who attend these meetings, you get a sense of what's happening, but there's a lot of people who can't, who work or travel or whatever, who can't attend. And we want to just be sure that we are communicating in an effective way to the community. So that's that. Officially, it is 8:08, meeting adjourned. Thank you for your time today. Have a great evening.